Today we'll be talking about orangutans, palm oil, and conservation. Together with us we have Pangaea, who is the founder of the Orangutan Gang. Just a few housekeeping rules and some guidelines for this webinar. You will be muted during the presentation just to prevent any interruption and background noise. So please don't unmute yourself during the presentation. If you would like to ask any question during the presentation, you're more than welcome to use the chat function. So yeah, please go ahead. There will also be some questions within the presentation where you will actually be encouraged to participate. And there will also be time at the end for more questions where we can keep it a bit more interactive. If you would like a certificate of participation, pay attention. You should just write your name and your email in a private message to Saga. So you can find Saga in the participants list and then write her a message with your name and email. And later on, we can send you a diploma of participation in this webinar. As I said earlier, this webinar is being recorded, so it will be shared later on, both on the website, yre.global/webinars, where you signed up, but also on the YouTube channel of YRE International. YRE is our Young Reporters for the Environment program. Just some information about our next webinar. So this webinar is part of the forest series, as we called it, where we talk about an issue related to the forest. So our next webinar is a field screening and a discussion on how goats can help regenerate our forests. But a little bit more about today's webinar. So as I said, today with us we have Pangaea. Pangaea has been recognized as an environmental educator under 30 by the North American Association for Environmental Education. This is a program that recognizes exemplary leaders in environmental education that are under 30 years old. I think Pangaea is today 15. She can tell us a little bit more about herself in a second. Pangaea has been raising awareness on the issue of palm oil since 2013, and her work focuses on rainforest conservation through education. And she's also the founder of her own NGO called the Orangutan Gang. I will stop sharing my screen and I'll pass it on to Pangaea, who will get started with her presentation.
Hello, Cole. Thank you so much for that fabulous introduction. And hello, everyone. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm really excited to be giving a presentation to this many people. So I will go ahead and share my screen and go back up to the top of the talk so there's no spoilers. So hello, my name is Pangaea, and I'm a founder of the Orangutan Gang, which is a nonprofit that focuses on community education about the palm oil issue and what everyone can do to help save the rainforest in their everyday lives. This session is going to be about this lesson plan that I developed that will help you teach your students about palm oil and conservation and incorporate this kind of environmental sustainability into your regular lesson planning. I wanted to start with a little bit of background on the topic, going over exactly what orangutans are and what the threats to them are and what this issue is and why it's so important. So they share 97% DNA with humans, and they are second only to humans in terms of intelligence. They beat chimpanzees in learning problem-solving tasks, despite the fact that chimpanzees are more closely related to humans. Orangutans live in dense rainforests in Southeast Asia on the islands of Sumatra and Borneo. That's the country Indonesia and Malaysia. And they are the largest tree-living animal in the world. They are also critically endangered for a number of factors, which I'll elucidate shortly. Orangutans are solitary animals. They're mostly frugivorous. They eat mostly fruit. They'll also occasionally eat insects. Orangutans build nightly sleeping nests. They build these nests high in the trees to stay safe at night, and certain studies show that they actually engineer these nests, choosing different types of branches for the frame and the mattress to make it more comfortable. Females raise their offspring alone. This is the only exception to orangutan's solitary lifestyle. Females often raise their offspring for up to 10 years. which is a parenting relationship that rivals the closeness of human parenting relationships. Orangutans often use tools in the wild. As you can see, this orangutan in the picture is using a stick to flail in the water for fish. Orangutans have also notably used tools to retrieve out-of-reach branches or reach food or ward off insects, sometimes even to protect themselves from rain. According to one study, orangutans are better problem solvers than some children. In this particular study, they gave orangutans and children a length of wire, and the participants had to innovate a tool to get a reward basket. And orangutans generally perform better than children in both the hook bending and unbending tasks. And orangutans display signs of culture, according to a study by Van Schaik. This means that certain orangutan populations display behaviors that are absent in others. One good example of this is snag riding, in which orangutans will jump onto a dead tree and ride it to the ground as it falls over. And this is only present in one population of orangutans and has not been observed in all other populations. So what do you think might be some threats to orangutans? Go ahead and type in the chat and I will take a look at your response. Okay, we have deforestation, palm oil plantations, illegal logging, loss of habitat, hunting, tourism, more deforestation, here's pollution, illegal animal trade, all of you are on the right track. Here's a quick list of some of the most serious threats to orangutans. The exotic pet trade, as two people I believe mentioned, one the illegal animal trade and the other one tourism. So this is where baby orangutans are captured and sold on the black market as pets because they are so, because people want to have them as pets, but it's really not for the orangutans and it often leads to terrible consequences for them. Hunting and poaching. This is sometimes when orangutans are hunted for food or poached for example, traditional medicines for the exotic pet trade. Sometimes orangutans on plantations are killed as pests because they are eating the food of plantations or in people's yards. Deforestation is also a big threat to orangutans. It takes a couple forms. Sometimes it's just the destruction of rainforest that happens because there was a fire set. Sometimes it's actually a more willful destruction of rainforest. For example,
Gia, you're cutting a little bit.
logging is one example where orangutans degrade and orangutans find more. Better?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, just let me know again and I'll try and see if I can troubleshoot.
Great. Thank you.
Deforestation for paper and pulp plantations and palm oil plantations is also notable, where rainforests might be purposefully destroyed in order to make room for many of these plantations. That's what I'll be going into here. Orangutans live in very biodiverse rainforests in Southeast Asia. They spend over 95% of their time in trees. In fact, one of the species of orangutan has never actually been observed to come down to the ground. There is a correlation between orangutan populations and how available fruit is. So they tend to live in areas where there's more fruit. This rainforest is home to an amazing variety of species. Over 15% of bird, reptile, and amphibian species live in Indonesia. And this is the same rainforest where orangutans live. And this is also the same rainforest that's under from palm oil development. So I'll start with a little introduction to palm oil. This is an oil that's processed from orange red palm fruits, like you can see in the picture here. And those fruits are harvested from plantations of oil palm trees. Palm oil is grown extensively in Southeast Asia, and it's used in many household products. Its derivatives can be used for a wide variety of purposes, including as cleaning agents and surfactants, emulsifiers, even to make products creamier. And I just wanted to step in here and say, palm oil is not coconut oil. They're derived from two different types of palm tree, so there's a difference. There are a number of benefits that surround palm oil's industrial capacity. First of all, it's a very efficient crop. This means that if you have a given area of palm oil trees, that area will produce a lot more oil than if you had a different crop growing there. Palm oil derivatives are useful in many household products, including many kinds of cleaning products, useful in packaged food fresh, and for a variety of other reasons. Palm oil grows well in Southeast Asia since it's originally a tropical plant. It's also free of artificial trans fats. You can say these are banned in the US. So in a lot of US products, there are any artificial trans fats because the product's palm oil instead.
Pangaea,
Okay.
we're having a bit of an issue again. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe try to turn your video off. That could help with the bandwidth.
Is this better?
I think so.
A little bit? Maybe?
It's cutting a little bit again.
I think maybe it's the sound in the background, perhaps?
It might be. I'm not able to turn the fan off though. It just goes on and off.
Maybe, can you maybe sit in another room?
I can get that set up. I'm at a desktop right now, but I can also join on the laptop if you'd like. If you think it might make the connection better, it would just take me a minute to get set up.
I think we can do that. If you think it will improve, then we can do that. Then we can we can keep the audience entertained in the meantime.
All right, I will be back shortly.
Great. So I'm very sorry about that, everyone. So maybe we can take it from here. Perhaps you could write us what brought you into this webinar in the chat. Exams. Could you elaborate on that, Daniel? Is it to gain some new insight or? Well, we will just take a moment for Pangaea to be back. Okay, that's a very beautiful comment. Thank you so much. So Ryan is saying that he loves the webinars and that he always gets some interesting ideas for teaching. New ideas for teaching on this topic. Thank you, Joanne. Jessica is saying that she's an educator and interested in learning new ways to enrich her lessons virtually. That's indeed a big topic nowadays. How do we actually adapt from the offline physical teaching to virtual as we all move on working or studying from home?
Nicole, if the issue is with bandwidth, you might like to share her presentation from your screen. That's we can mitigate if the issue is with the bandwidth.
Yeah, I can do that as well. But it seemed like it was mostly the sound. So hopefully it will be back on. Okay, she's here now. Hi, Pangaea. You're back. Let's see if we can hear you better.
Yes, is this working better?
We can hear you better, yes. There's still some background noise, but we can hear you better.
Yes, I'm sorry, this is the unfortunate trade-off. In the room with the desktop, there's the fan behind me. In this, with my laptop, my computer fan is quite loud. So it generally won't be terrible, but I'm really sorry for the technology problems and I should have gotten this set up better.
But we can hear you very well, so at least that's solved. I think that's good.
Okay, I will go ahead and share then.
Oh, yeah, this can be quite loud.
Well, I don't have any headphones, so I'm honestly not sure how to deal with it, unfortunately. There's continuous static noises, yeah. So, I might just want to go back downstairs, or, I mean, I'm so sorry for these technology problems.
Yeah, it happens more often than not, so don't worry. Yeah, I don't know if we should, Saga, what do you think? Should we continue with this, or should she move again?
I think it sounds better.
Okay.
Even if the sound is a bit annoying, it's
yeah, the voice is clearer. That's
yeah, definitely.
Okay, so it just went down a little bit, so it should be a little clearer now. So I'll go ahead and resume then. Because of all these reasons, palm oil is quite cheap and it is easy to obtain at a low price, which makes it more widely used than a lot of other oils. However, there are also a number of terrible environmental side effects to palm oil, and these include loss of habitat, global warming, human rights abuses, heart health, and because of the plantations, a lot of hunting and poaching. Rainforest is essentially destroyed in order to make room for many of these palm oil plantations. And this leads to loss of habitat for an incredible variety of rainforest animals. Orangutans, rhinos, tigers, and even elephants lose their habitats because of palm oil. When this rainforest is destroyed, it's most usually burned, which unfortunately contributes to global warming as well, when all of that carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere. A number of human rights abuses have also been recorded on palm oil plantations, workers who don't have adequate health protections, children who have to work to help meet their parents' standards. There's also a notable amount of hunting and poaching on plantations because animals that venture onto plantations are often killed as pests or seen as easier to hunt. Palm oil, even though it doesn't contain artificial trans fats, does contain saturated fats, which also means it's unhealthy for your heart. Palm oil is very common in grocery store products because it's so efficient and so cheap and so informative and so terrible for the environment. It's very commonly used in the grocery store. So what kinds of products do you think might contain palm oil? And this is a general idea of what products might contain palm oil. So say like shampoo instead of one specific brand. Go ahead and type in chat if you have any ideas. We have soap, Nutella, biscuits, cosmetics, chocolates, snacks, cookies, most processed foods, anything in plastic packaging, more processed food. Indian snacks, cookies, cake. So we have a lot of these processed or packaged foods. Here we have biscuits, noodles, and snacks, and these are actually examples of products that contain palm oil, but it's a much wider range than just packaged foods. In fact, all of these products can contain palm oil in some form or other. Packaged and snack foods, quite obviously. Dairy products, in fact. Bread, confections, that's your cookies and your cake. Dish and hand soap, cooking oil, chocolate, or condiments. Bathroom, you might find palm oil in hand and bath soap, deodorant, hair care, cosmetics, toothpaste. It's also used in pet food, biodiesel, candles, laundry detergent, even cleaning products. So you can see from this that palm oil is in such a wide range of products. And I should add that whoever mentioned that Nutella contains palm oil, that is correct. Nutella has contained palm oil for quite some time and is in fact has a lot of palm oil. So keep that in mind. I wanted to share with you some statistics related to palm oil. In fact, 85% of the world's palm oil supply is sourced from Indonesia and Malaysia. And remember, these are the same two countries where orangutans live. And 300 football fields of rainforest are destroyed in Indonesia every hour. This is not just to make room for palm oil. This is to make room for all of the plantation operations that are going on and just by fires and illegal logging. And 18 grams of palm oil are directly and indirectly consumed and used in one day by one person. This might seem a little bit obscure. The general idea is that if you add up the palm oil contributions that you are contributing to throughout the day, so first of all, the palm oil that you eat, the palm oil that's in products that you use, like shampoo, the palm oil that is used by manufacturers to get you those products, etc., then it will come out to somewhere around 18 grams. 2,500 orangutans have been killed per year for the past 4 decades. This is a devastating number given how small the population of orangutans is already. But this is mainly due to hunting, poaching, being killed as pests, or just habitat loss. And of course, the most devastating number here is that 50% of these packaged grocery store products contain palm oil. So of course now we have to figure out what we can do about this. I talked a lot about the issue and what palm oil and orangutans are and all of the terrible impacts that it's having, but we need to figure out what we as educators can do. I wanted to start by talking a little bit about certification programs. These programs examples include the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil and Green Palm Sustainability. The RSPO, which you can see here, protects primary and high conservation value rainforest. The RSPO specifically ensures that none of this kind of rainforest is destroyed by the manufacturers it certifies. Green Palm, on the other hand, says that a company is about to become certified by the RSPO by some deadline, and that a company wants to make a sustainability commitment and they're in the process of changing their supply chain so that they can become certified. Both of these certification programs have been criticized for being incomplete and inaccurate, partially because the RSPO only protects this primary and high conservation value rainforest, partly because there are apparently some problems with the way the certification is figured out. See, I tend to, when I talk to people about this, I suggest that you make your own decision about whether or not you want to support the RSPO. There are a lot of conservation organizations that do. There are a lot that don't want to support the RSPO at all. I tend to look at it as a step in the right direction, but we need a stronger certification program to move us forward. And lastly, I wanted to mention the PUFCAP certification program. That stands for Palm Oil Free Certification Accreditation Program. if you see that label on a product, it means the product or even the company is 100% palm oil free. So there's no palm oil in the product at all. In terms of reading labels, as someone mentioned in the chat, I thought I'd give this little crash course in how to read labels and how to find palm oil on an ingredients label. So here we have quite a long ingredients label with a lot of different possible ingredients on it. This is just an example of a packaged product you might find in the grocery store. This is a particularly severe example just because of how many palm oil derivatives are present here. But I wanted to ask you to take a look at this ingredient list and see if you can find any ingredients that look like they could be palm oil derivatives or related to palm oil in some way. So go ahead and type in chat. So I'm seeing hydrogenated palm kernel oil and vitamin A palmitate. These are indeed both palm oil related products or palm oil derivatives. Hydrogenated palm kernel oil refers to an oil which is derived from the kernel of the palm fruit. It's a little different than palm oil, but it has the same environmental impact. And vitamin A palmitate is just a different derivative of palm oil.
There's a nice question in the chat, Pangaea. They would like to know what is made of these ingredients.
Yes, I was wondering the same thing. I found this ingredient list on a website that was specifically talking about how to read ingredients list, and I thought I'd use it because of just how many palm oil derivatives were on it. It didn't say on the website what the product was other than it was a breakfast product, but I looked up the ingredient list and I have a sneaking suspicion that it's Pop-Tarts. So someone else has suggested monoglycerides, dextrose, polydextrose, distilled monoglycerides, palm kernel oil, artificial flavor, xanthan gum. Someone said, what does it mean, red number 40, yellow number 5? Those are dyes that are used in this product, so actual food dyes. I will go ahead and continue then. So, to answer this question, these are the ingredients in this product that are possible palm oil derivatives. So we have palm oil here, quite obviously, and there's glycerin and distilled monoglycerides. These could also be palm oil derivatives. Hydrogenated palm kernel oil and vitamin A palmitate, as was mentioned in the chat, and one that no one mentioned was sodium stearoyl lactylate. This is also often a palm oil derivative. So here on the left, I mentioned a few short words that you can remember to see whether a product contains palm oil. So one example is palm. If you see anything with palm in it, it's almost certainly palm oil. So this can be palm fruit oil, palm kernel oil, palmitate, palm shortening, palmitic acid. Another is laur. You're more likely to see this in shampoo or cleaning products or any kind of care products. So you might see sodium laureth sulfate or laureth 20. Stear, you might have stearic acid or stearyl alcohol. These are examples of palm oil derivatives you might see. Olea, which is oleic acid or linoleic acid. You might see these in palm oil derivatives. Like, you have a couple of these in here, glycerin and distilled monoglycerides. You might also see propylene glycol. I'm seeing something in chat. Are people having a hard time hearing me?
I can hear you fine. I don't know, maybe they're talking to each other.
Yeah, great. I think we're good.
Thank you. And I'll apologize once more for my obnoxiously loud computer fan. Some of these aliases are more common in certain products than others. For example, I mentioned that lore and even steer might be more common for you to see in cleaning or care products. Another example of this is specifically vitamin A palmitate. Almost all of the time you're going to see vitamin A palmitate, you'll see that in a dairy product. So if you're looking at yogurt, or if you're even looking at milk, and you're looking at the ingredients list and trying to figure out whether it contains palm oil, then you can look for vitamin A palmitate and see whether there is vitamin A palmitate in that, because if there isn't, then it's probably palm oil free. Something else that you can do besides avoiding palm oil is talking to companies about using palm oil. I wanted to share this one story with you, where an orangutan supporter, a specific friend of mine, found an unsustainable product in a Whole Foods store. She responded by contacting Whole Foods, and she received a response that said that Whole Foods has this RSPO commitment for all the products that are its own brand products. So the specific products it sells that are actually Whole Foods brand. You see, you can contact companies yourself to make an impact on your policies. This maybe isn't the best example of a company contacting story. One better example is that of Maddie Borba. So Maddie Borba is a conservationist who worked to get palm oil out of Girl Scout cookies. She started this campaign when she was an actual Girl Scout. She carried it through 8 years, trying to help save orangutans by convincing Girl Scout cookies to stop using unsustainable palm oil. And eventually, after a long time of campaigning, she was finally able to convince Kellogg's, which is the company that makes these Girl Scout cookies, that they should not use palm oil, and Kellogg's adopted this sustainable palm oil policy and became a leader in the industry. Another example of this is Iceland Foods, a grocery store chain that you might recognize. They switched a couple years ago to having a no palm oil in our own brand products commitment. You can do this yourself by contacting companies, emailing them, and just letting them know, I don't support palm oil use. You can help save the rainforest. You can be a leader in the industry. You can change your policies and use sustainable or no palm oil. Another thing that you can do to help save the rainforest is raise awareness. Many people don't know about the palm oil issue, but you can use your voice to motivate other people, just like what I'm doing right now. Raising awareness can be big. It can include info booths or speeches or talks like this one. Or it can be small. You can just tell your friends about the palm oil issue or share something on social media. But remember, each new person you tell can then go out and raise awareness among their crowd. And if you get that with all of the people that you tell, then you'll be able to make this ripple effect that will spread out throughout the entire world and help people stop using palm oil. And each new student, each new person that you can tell can make an impact. They won't be just raising awareness, they'll be contacting companies and avoiding palm oil, and they will also become sustainable advocates for conservation. I also wanted to talk a little bit about couch conservation, just because it's a really easy example of something that you can do. This includes small stay-at-home actions that end up having a bigger impact. One example is changing your mind about what products to buy. So you can just go onto your grocery list and be like, oh, that has palm oil. I don't think I'm going to get that this week. Or figuring out what are some more sustainable products that don't have palm oil in them or that have sustainable palm oil. You can also raise awareness among your friends. You can tell your friends about the palm oil issue or make a quick post on social media. And remember, by doing this, you'll be creating a ripple effect. And another example is you can email some company executive and tell them, I do not support your palm oil policy and that you should change your palm oil policy so that you can become sustainable. And there's a really good form letter for this on the Orangutan Gang website. I will post that link in a few minutes. I designed it so that you can just fill out your name and the company name and then send it off, and it's really quite easy. I'm going to challenge you to do at least one of these things this week. If you do all of these things, that's fantastic. But remember, each one of these things that you do is something that is going to help save the rainforest. It's an impact. Even if it's really very small, it's still an impact. And this is something that you can do at home without even sitting up. So what else do you think you can do as an educator that will help save the rainforest? Go ahead and type in chat if you have any ideas. Someone's asking, what was the question? The idea is, what can you do as an educator to help save the rainforest? We have raise awareness amongst our students, share tips on how to identify palm oil products, start a campaign student-led in our school and greater community, connect the dots about how our behavior is connected to the rainforest even though we are far away from it, focus on positive actions that we can all take, read labels or at least teach them to find out where their food has come from, inspire our students to become more vocal and lead change, educate students about unsustainable hardwoods. These are all such fantastic examples of what you can do as educators. I'm so inspired by listening to all of you and your fantastic ideas. I just included a couple of examples that are notable actions that you can take. So first of all, you can encourage your students to take action. This doesn't just have to be about palm oil. You can also encourage your students to look into where their food comes from and what they're doing and what kind of environmental impact they have just by having everyday choices. And this includes palm oil and also a lot of other environmental issues as well, like even global warming. If you encourage your students to take action, they can become more conscious about their environmental impact. You can also promote environmental practices at home in the classroom. Encourage your students to, for example, not to use unsustainable wood, as Pamela brought up. They can also try and use less palm oil containing snacks at home and in the classroom. You can also spread the word to other educators. The more educators you tell, the more students they will be able to raise awareness to, and that way you'll have the most educated possible students about conservation. And you can set a sustainable example for your students. By helping save the rainforest yourself, you'll be able to show your students that it's important to act for conservation and to promote sustainability. In this last section, I'm going to talk a little bit about the actual content of the lesson plan, as well as a couple other resources that are available on the Orangutan Gang website. So I will start here with a couple of resources that are available for Orangutan Gang website viewers, I suppose. There's going to be a little bit of a tech issue. I had a document on my other computer, since I thought I was going to be giving the presentation on my other computer. It had the links to all of these, so I'm pulling that up right now. And here is the link to all of these specific documents. Large chat message. You can click on any of these or just copy the entire thing. The first is the company contact form letter. This is pretty easy. You just fill out your name and the company and then find some contact form on the company's website and you can send it off. Encourage them to start using sustainable palm oil. The second and third links here are for flyers and postcards that you can, for example, hand out around your neighborhood. Postcards are specially designed for Halloween, and you can use these to help encourage people to go palm oil free or just to learn more about palm oil. The next two links, one of them is for the newsletter page for the Orangutan Gang. We put out a quarterly newsletter that has updates about conservation and interviews with advocates. And the second part of that is blog updates. So we put regular updates out on the Orangutan Gang blog that are about what you can do. Like, for example, I'm planning to put out an update in a couple days about holiday season and what you can do to have sustainable foods for the holiday season. And lastly, at the bottom there is the link to the interactive online lesson plan. I will, of course, be posting that link again since it's kind of the topic of this presentation. But I just thought I'd include it here for any of you who want to check it out or skim over it while I'm presenting. So this lesson plan I've been talking about this whole time, I should probably get a start on it. The Orangutan Gang's online lesson plan is designed for all educational levels. It has 4 customizable activities, which help students learn about orangutans, palm oil, and conservation. There's a separate activity for each of these. The lesson plan is designed entirely for virtual use. It was designed during the pandemic to help students adapt to online conservation learning. And it's an NAEE approved resource. It was approved by the North American Association for Environmental Education on their EE Pro resource database. The lesson plan includes 4 activities. The first is an article and some questions that will teach students about orangutans. The second is relating to palm oil. It includes an informational video, an assignment, and an actual student research investigation, which will let them do online research for themselves relating to palm oil containing products. The third is an interactive video discussion that will allow students to go over all of these. And the last is conservation planning. This is a guide worksheet that will help students design their own conservation projects, and you can also include an optional discussion with this. The activities are entirely separate, so you can customize, mix and match, and figure out which activities are best for your students. Based on their educational level, you can also specifically customize these last two, the conservation planning and the discussion, to go over the topics that you want to. So I'll go through each of these activities individually and talk a little bit about the specific features of each. This first activity is about orangutans. As you can see on the right here, this is a detailed article that provides an introduction to orangutans with some quick information about their background and their intelligence and their life history. The questions at the bottom here test students' knowledge of the article. And this is a fillable worksheet design. This is a design via Google Slides. And this allows students to complete and submit their assignment entirely online without even having to print it out. The second activity has to do with palm oil. So it starts with an educational video that was specifically designed for the lesson plan, which provides background on palm oil and what students can do to help save the rainforest. Then the worksheet, which you can see here on the top of this picture, summarizes some of the important points of the video. For example, what are 3 ways to help save the rainforest? And the investigation worksheet, which you can see at the bottom, encourages students to search online for sustainability. Students will actually be able to go around their house, find products that have palm oil in them, and then search online to find products that are similar but sustainable. Whether or not they are RSPO sustainable or palm oil free is up to the student. The third activity is an interactive video discussion. The customizable topics for the discussion, which are some examples here. How can students work to curb their own palm oil use? What are effective ways for students to raise awareness and tell other people about palm oil? What responsibility do students have to save rainforests halfway across the world? There are several other suggestions, of course, and students can also suggest their own topics. Or teachers can suggest their own topics, sorry, I misspoke. There's an option for students to conduct this discussion in class. They can also discuss asynchronously outside of class via Flipgrid. Students can also record and respond to each other's discussion videos using this asynchronous discussion platform. So it kind of mimics an in-class discussion, but it allows students more time to think about their responses and what they're going to say. And lastly, this is the conservation activity for the lesson plan. This is my personal favorite. The worksheet guides students to develop their own specific conservation projects, not just about palm oil and orangutans, but about what they're passionate about, issues that they're interested in. The worksheet uses this purpose, mission, goal, strategy, activism framework. It starts with encouraging students to choose what they're going to do with their conservation projects. Then they have to explain how they're going to do it. So that's the mission statement. I have an example of a mission statement here, and students can craft their own. Step 3 is to set goals. These are directed things that will measure how much you want to accomplish, and you have to do these by a certain date. And lastly is strategies, which will describe how you want to accomplish your goals. These are specific things that you might want to do, like host an info booth or give a talk for learning about forests. This activity is best used if you are working with a group of students who are doing a project about conservation or who want to develop their own conservation projects. And this also includes an optional discussion for students to share their activism and talk about the conservation projects they've designed. Notice this can be used in one of two ways. You can either use this for students who are designing, quote, idealistic conservation projects that they think could be really effective at helping save whatever environmental area they want to. Or you can have students do this as actual conservation projects. So you can start here and say, these are things that you should actually do. You should, when you say, I'm going to raise awareness in my community by next year, you should actually be designing flyers or handing them out or just going door to door and telling your community about whatever issue you're talking about. So this is your choice about whether or not you want to engage students in actual activism or just teach them about what kind of activism they can do. By sharing this lesson plan with your students, you can promote conservation and sustainability in the classroom. Because remember, using this lesson plan is an act of change. By using the lesson plan, you're encouraging your students to step up for conservation and become their own advocates. And as I mentioned earlier, spreading the word is activism. By educating your students about orangutans and palm oil, you are telling people that will continue to tell more people, and those people will all make their own impacts. So by educating your students about orangutans and palm oil and conservation issues, you are actively helping save the rainforest. Thank you so much. Go ahead and fire ahead with questions in the chat. I will once more post the link to the lesson plan so that you can all use the link, and I will also include the link to the Orangutan Gang website.
Thank you so much, Pangaea. This was very interesting, and we've seen a super engaged audience in the chat. Thank you so much for all your contributions. There was one final comment. I don't know if you want to read it out loud, perhaps, or I could read it for you. So someone saying, I wanted to point out what Jesse was also mentioning earlier, that if we all just avoid palm oil, the companies will replace it with something else, which can also have dire consequences for the environment and deforestation. So teaching about palm oil should go hand in hand with teaching about eating foods that are fresh and not processed. Would you like to comment on that maybe?
Sure. I'll add that This is true. Because of how efficient palm oil is, it would be more unsustainable actually to use that land for other oils that will produce less. So if we are going to avoid palm oil, then we should either just eliminate it from products where it doesn't need to be there, or we should look for products where there just doesn't need to be any palm oil. Or, of course, the third option is that we can use sustainable palm oil that doesn't destroy rainforest. I'm seeing a lot of new messages in the chat, though, so you're really inspiring. Great. Thank you so much.
If there's any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, or if you're courageous, you can also unmute yourself and ask directly. Thank you for all the beautiful comments that came in. And also thank you for your patience on the technical issues. We've overcome them. I think we all got used to the sound. So don't worry, Pangaea, it was, we could hear you very well the second half. I'll just put up some questions. You can still keep putting your questions in the chat. I'm also sharing. Can you see my screen? Great. Perhaps some more. Just a little bit about of feedback on your experience from this webinar. Perhaps you're used to this process. If you go to menti.com, you can take your phone or open another browser and type www.menti.com and use the code that is at the top of the screen, and that's 4254965. And then you can vote how you found the webinar, if it was useful, if it was not useful, or if it was somewhat useful. There's already 2 people on it. And that was a yes. Great, we'd like to hear from more of you. Okay, there's more people joining slowly. Again, the process is either from your phone or a web browser. You can just let us know how you found the webinar. And then if it was somewhat useful, you can also let us know what we could improve or what else you would like to hear about on this topic.
I am seeing any comments on the promotion of palm oil development in Malaysia and Indonesia for economic development in the countries as an important export product. This is true that palm oil development is a big contributor to the economies of Indonesia and Malaysia. However, if we want to build that in, we are going to need to build that sustainably. Palm oil right now is contributing to the economies of Indonesia and Malaysia. However, it's also having a devastating impact on those countries' biodiversity and on the human rights of the workers for the industry. So if we really want to build palm oil in as a part of this economy, we're going to need to build it in a more sustainable fashion, where we have less human rights abuses and, of course, sustainable production and just healthy for everyone. Remember that it's more than just economic sustainability. It is environmental sustainability and social sustainability. And someone else is asking, how can people volunteer for your organization? So the Orangutan Gang doesn't have specific volunteers. We are pretty small as of right now. There is, however, a pledge that you can take on our website that is on the Join Us page. It's pretty easy to find once you're on the Orangutan Gang website. I guess I'll post the link in here.
Yeah, that would be great.
And another way that you can volunteer for the Orangutan Gang, it won't be official, but you will be helping save the rainforest, is by doing one of those couch conservation things. So I'm just going to push it again. Contact a company or change your palm oil lists, or tell your friends about the palm oil issue. Any one of those things works.
We have another final question up. If you would be able to use the resources that Pangaea just presented, including the lesson plans or the postcards or yeah, all the online resources that she presented. Would you be able to use that in your teaching? Great. A lot of people have found it useful. It's quite evident. I'll stop sharing my screen. The presentation and the video will be shared online on our website, so you will be able to go through the information again if you missed anything. And we will also be posting all the links that Pangaea was sharing throughout the presentation. Any final remarks, Pangaea, before we close?
Just thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I'm so glad I was able to share this with so many of you. And thank you so much for being such an engaged and amazing audience and for dealing with all of the terrible tech issues that we've had.
Thank you all once again. Just reminding you that there is the second part of the forest series webinars is next week on the 15th. You can register through the usual page. I'll just type it in the chat now. It's yre.global/webinars. And then you can sign up to any future webinars in there. On the same page, that's where we make the presentation available as well. So keep an eye on that page. Oh, actually, I just realized I only send it privately. I'll send it again. It's yre.global/webinars. So thank you all so much for today.